Hey everybody, it's Austin Ward here for Lettermen Row, back with another BuckIQ. Former Ohio State star Terence Dials is with me, and we talked last week about the Buckeyes trying to turn that corner, and it did not happen at all on Saturday against Iowa. Now, Terence, this is the first, rough, real stretch of the Chris Holtmann era. 3-game losing streak. They have not won a Big Ten game yet in 2019. What's going on for the Buckeyes? How can they get this straightened back out?
Well, I think they got to get back to the basics. Obviously, Caleb is the focus point, but when he's struggling, the whole team struggles, and I think we need to have that second player step up, and to this point we haven't had that yet.
We looked at the first couple that we've done since you've been in here for BuckIQ. Caleb Wesson doing what he's been doing inside and outside. CJ Jackson when he brings that energy, but both of those guys struggled against Iowa. CJ was on the bench, and part of the reason was a flood of turnovers there. You're just not going to win when you're turning the basketball over 20-plus times in a game.
Yeah, the formula to winning basketball is try to keep the turnovers under 12. Anytime you have a high amount of turnovers exceeding 12, it's going to be a close game, probably go blowout sometimes. And you're starting to see that now. Guards aren't taking care of the ball, and this is what you're having, 3-game losing streak.
Yeah, so there wasn't a lot of positives to break down from that game at Iowa. Terence and I are going to just kind of let some of these turnovers roll and see if there's a common theme that we can identify as Ohio State gets ready to take on Maryland on Friday night, get back on track in that losing streak. So let's roll the tape.
Kind of flatten out into a 3-2 when Bohannon drops. Good job by Ledee there. That's exactly what you have to do. Get the ball in that high post, but you can't play right into the...
And now Young on the offensive end. He's been giving Ohio State some really good minutes the last couple weeks. And here Bohannon strips it right out of his hands.
That's a...
Greener lost his footing.
Second great time post defense by Young.
And then Jackson trying to save it. Gives it back.
Ryan Greener, he's talking about leaking out. He's talking about guys trying to get up and down the floor early without securing the rebound on the defensive end. And that paid dividends for Ryan Greener. He's talking about gang rebound.
Well, Terence, they're not always going to be as fun as those first couple that we did. And this, we're going to watch a couple minutes here of turnovers. And this has got to be the thing that is going to keep Chris Holtmann up at night this week.
Well, yeah, these are unforced turnovers. I mean, it works both ways. You got, who's that, Musa Jallo?
Yeah. Not
stepping into the pass, and then you have CJ not meeting the pass. You got to have that. And then on this, can you roll that tape back? On this right here, as you notice, they're not bringing a double team into the dribble. So it kind of confuses guys.
Okay.
They can't wait for the basketball until they put the ball on the floor, and that's when the double comes. And then, obviously, we weren't ready for the rotation on that double.
What's the right decision there for Young? I mean, obviously he gets victimized when that double team does show up, but does he need...
Well, this guy has to be a relief, so he has to move over to where this ref is to give him an easy pass.
Okay.
That's just the simplest pass you can make.
Is it a matter of trying to make a quicker decision when Young gets it? It's almost like he was indecisive down there on the block.
Well, it's tough when the double teams are coming and you know they're coming. You don't want to rush, but sometimes beating the double team is the play.
Gotcha. So you go on here, we're going to see more and more like it, and a lot of these wind up leading to points off turnovers. And this one here, Ohio State is not really much of a fast-breaking team, but they try to get something going, and that just leads to another comedy.
Well, these are just careless turnovers. I mean, I'm sure in video, coach is going to have a long talk with a lot of these guards about making good passes.
And that one, too, you roll that back there for us. The way it finishes, I think, is another. Sometimes a turnover is going to happen, but where it might be a lack of effort as well here and getting back in transition. You just see 3 guys, and Iowa winds up taking 3 shots.
Absolutely. I mean, this is definitely one of those games when you're playing on the road, all eyes have to be on rebounding, getting back in transition. And obviously, as you see, we only have 3 guys back. They have 4 white shirts. It's no question why they got the easy offensive board.
Another play here in the backcourt where a guard's got the ball, he's 30 feet from the basket, and there's got to be a simpler pass out there, doesn't there?
Well, you're not supposed to. Obviously, he can dribble out. He hasn't used his dribble yet. This is one of those situations where, we take it back to fundamentals in 6th, 7th grade. Like you see a double team coming, retreat, and then make a good pass. You got 3 shirts right there, 3 white shirts surrounding you.
And some of this, too, is early in the game. I mean, it's like they didn't even come out necessarily with a plan. I don't know if that's too harsh of an assessment there, but sometimes they just look confused with what they're doing in these sets.
I think a lot of these guys, Iowa's a tough place to play. It might have been really loud, couldn't hear sets.
Sure.
But you know, that's no excuse for not trying your hardest. You know, especially getting those hustle plays. Getting out hustle is not a it's never an excuse.
I think this is one too that would really frustrate you as a post player. This is I mean, these passes aren't necessarily the most simple around, but Caleb's got this sealed off and plenty of room underneath the basket.
Well, if you remember, Caleb got called for an offensive foul earlier for pushing off to try to get that. So I think, you know, that might be in his mind not to push off and go get the rebound, go get the pass. But he has to make a better pass here. I mean, it should be dropped in the breadbasket, easy layup.
I was just going to ask, I mean, you're going to usually side on the side of a post player there. Is this in a position where Caleb, if he not had that foul, where he could have made this play? Is there a specific spot this pass needs to be?
This pass should be dropped right over the shoulder, and I'm sure they work on this in practice tons. And you know, there will be mistakes sometimes happens, but this is twice this game trying to get over the shoulder, and we didn't succeed. All this is open in the backside. That should be definitely a play that we should be able to make.
And somebody with his size, when he gets that position, you've got to count on 2 buckets there, especially on the road. You said that last week with Caleb. Those are points that you're counting on.
Anytime you get 2 feet in the paint for a big guy, you got to give him the ball. Anytime you get 2 feet in that paint, it should be either a foul or a basket. That's how I always thought.
Down the stretch, too, there seemed to be some problems here as we let it go, where Ohio State just – we talked about the half-court set already. Then in the trying to break a press, they looked even more confused out there.
Well, can you pause? Can you go back a little bit? Well, there's nobody here to help. Can you play it just a little? You keep going. It's Caleb here. We have 2 guards. Where are they at?
Yeah.
Come back and help, you know? They need to come back and help. We definitely need more ball handlers up, helping the point guard out.
And basically in this situation, you've got Muhammad way out on the wing. He's not really an option here. They're playing 3-on-5, what it amounts to. And
it's got to be Dwayne flashing to the half court right here. It takes away this guy. And personally, I would have Caleb back. I don't need him at half court. He's not going to do us any justice here.
So that's another turnover. There's another one coming here later on against the press with C.J. Jackson. Just kind of, as you said right off the top, an unforced error here.
Yeah, this is stuff that, you know, guys have been playing basketball for so long, they should already know. And, you know, when you're on the road, sometimes you lose some of your focusness, and these guys just didn't have it.
They're going to have to get it back in a hurry, Terence, because there's a big test coming Friday night. Maryland's got a couple impressive wins of late. Ohio State, we know what's happened in the last 3 games, and that Rutgers one will still be in their mind as well. There's struggles on the road, but as you said to me the other day, you get to come back home for this one. And there's been almost a full week for them to get in the film room and back on the practice court.
I have no doubts that Coach Holtmann is going to make some adjustments with his team. The first adjustment is probably having them play harder. That's just no excuse, especially on the road. Effort needs to be 100%. And then having guys step up and make shots. You know, Iowa game, we shot 37%. That's not a winning formula. 37% with 20 turnovers. You're not going to win many games that way.
Another one coming against Maryland. Terence Dials in here breaking it down with us at BuckIQ for Lettermen Row. I know that he'll be pulling for that losing streak to end, so that maybe we'll have something a little more fun to break down next week.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
All right, so that's Terence Dials. I'm Austin Ward. For Lettermen Row, this has been BuckIQ. We'll see you next week.